we wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us. I mean, the extent by which the sabotage they've unleashed upon us, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're still learning new ways that they have sabotaged us.
Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy.
And today we want to talk about RFK maybe apparently dropping out of the presidential race.
This is going to be a good one. Okay, so the Daily Wire and a lot of other outlets published an article saying RFK may drop out of the race on Friday and possibly endorse Donald Trump.
So yes, it says that he will be in the same city as Donald Trump will be, and people are speculating now that maybe he will make some sort of speech or address to his supporters during President Trump's rally.
This is a massive backfire for the Democrats. They pushed Robert F. Kennedy a little bit too far. Originally, he wanted to run for the Democratic primary, and they excluded him. So then he said, okay, I'll run as an independent. And then the Democratic Party went state by state by state, blocking him in virtually every state. He was only eligible in a couple handfuls of states, so he had no chance to win the election. Because he was blocked from so many states, he must be thinking the Democratic Party is the non-Democratic Party, and that's why he's figuring he'll endorse Trump and maybe get a place in his cabinet.
And I mean, not only that, but he has also been blocked by the Democrats from running in certain districts and certain...
The majority of the United States has been blocked from running in.
Essentially. But Trump has also said that he is open for Kennedy to either be in his administration or take a part in his campaign. So if he does do that, he says he welcomes him essentially with open arms. We did see a call from Trump to Kennedy that got leaked by Kennedy's son. But, I mean, they both have very similar ideas and similar things that they want to do with the country, except one is even slightly more populist than the other, that being RFK Jr.
Well, what we're seeing right now is right and left populism coming really close to each other and having a lot of overlapping in issues. And because RFK is a constitutional attorney and a damn good one at that, if Trump puts him in charge of a lot of these issues, such as food freedom, financial freedom, and medical freedom, he's going to know exactly how to attack these issues and get them solved.
And again, as we see from this ABC News article, because we look at different sources, they are actually the first ones that reported on RFK's possible plans to drop out. And sources told them, which usually when you see sources say or sources close to RFK Jr., that means that it's essentially somebody from his campaign directly telling ABC News, although they can't say that. And again, here we see that when asked directly if he would endorse President Trump or even take part in his administration, he said that he will not confirm or deny that. So we still have to wait until Friday. But this is a positive step towards an RFK and Trump joining of forces, which would essentially take a lot of the votes away from Kamala Harris, who right now is at the DNC, essentially making part of a fool of herself.
This would essentially push out a lot of the remaining rhinos in the Republican Party and increase the MAGA faction within the conservative wing, which would be an absolute fantastic thing.
And I mean, again, when we're talking about the DNC and looking at Kamala Harris, well, she has essentially been installed there. And it is not only the Trump supporters that are thinking that, but a lot of the RFK supporters and people that are behind him and got completely shocked that the Democratic Party threw him away, essentially kicked him out the door, and keep trying to do so.
Well, we do know who the source was. It was his vice presidential candidate, Nicole Shanahan. Nicole Shanahan was on a podcast and then on the news saying they're thinking about dropping out of the race and endorsing Trump because the Democratic Party has become the non-democratic party and blocked them from even participating in this election in most states. Why don't we take a look at what she said?
Bobby's decision. I came into this supporting him wholeheartedly to win this election. And I have to say, there's only one party that has obstructed a fair election for us. And unfortunately, it was the Democratic Party. They've done everything they can, including creating PACs to prevent us from being able to have ballot access.
Pause it for a quick sec. Now, this is unbelievable that she's saying these things because both her and RFK are lifelong Democrats and they were highly involved in the Democratic Party itself. So for them to be disenfranchised and pushed out of the Democratic Party in such a way and to actually endorse Donald Trump is really saying something. They're wanting to create a unity party where a lot of the people from RFK's faction will join with the MAGA faction.
And I mean, this is not the first person or people to be completely kicked out of the Democratic Party, unceremoniously so. I mean, recently we just saw the President of the United States himself, Joe Biden, get kicked out, and probably he did not author that resignation letter from his campaign. But then we also had Bernie Sanders. He decided to stick with them and stick along after he got essentially kicked out by Hillary Clinton. And before that, we also saw Tulsi Gabbard as well. Then she has started to move a little bit towards the Trump/MAGA faction of it. It is said that Trump is doing some rehearsing for the debate with Kamala Harris with Tulsi Gabbard. But I mean, if there's more and more people coming out of the Democratic side saying that they are being ostracized and alienated for certain topics or things that they're saying, or because they decline to support certain party issues, well then.
Kamala Harris has been installed as a candidate. She was not elected, and this is completely skirting democracy. And if RFK goes with Trump, this is going to highlight that fact. It's going to become an election of, do you want to vote for democracy by voting for Trump and RFK, or do you want to vote against democracy by voting for an installed candidate nobody elected?
Yes, essentially Trump is starting to become Trump is the only democratically elected presidential nominee running for this race.
Interesting, because you were saying that you could stay in and run the risk of Kamala Harris win, or you could walk and you could join forces with Donald Trump. When you say join forces, Nicole, what do you mean specifically?
Well, this idea of a unity party, an idea of us coming around these principles of fighting for liberty in this country, fighting for our children's health. We have the worst chronic health crisis in the world right now. Over 50% of children are diagnosed with some chronic disease. This is unconscionable.
Yeah.
And we are willing to work with anyone who is sincere in their endeavor to fix and address this issue.
Do you believe the Trump campaign and Trump himself is sincere? Do you see a home? You talk about this as being Bobby's decision. Do you see a home for RFK Jr. in the Trump administration, Health and Human Services, something to that extent?
I would fully support it. I would fully support a strong partnership dedicated to this issue. A lot of people comment that in his first term he didn't accomplish many of the things that mothers really were hoping he would do. Made some big mistakes around the pandemic. However, I think that he is sincere.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay, that's good. Now, it's very interesting that Nicole Shanahan, I mean, like I said before, she's a lifelong Democrat, but she's had the most to lose in this. She's the one that's completely funded the RFK campaign. She was the one involved with the liberals and big tech. All of her friends, everybody around her, she really is going to be upsetting by endorsing Donald Trump. But I think she's having the red pill moment where she's awakening to see a lot of what Trump is fighting for is exactly what the left populist also wants, such as food freedom, medical freedom, financial freedom.
And I mean, I think on both sides, which is what happened a little bit with the MAGA side and how the MAGA faction actually came to be, was realizing that the Republican Party was not willing to fight for certain essential things that most people, especially those that are lean more populist or maybe even more independently minded or middle of the road, were not being taken care of. So I think the same fractioning is going to continue to happen with the Democratic Party, and people are realizing and starting to wake up to the fact that there is a so-called uni party that will continue to vote in the same way no matter what.
Well, if they would have just left RFK alone, they already didn't allow him to run in the Democratic primary, and he seemed actually fine with that. And he was going to run as an independent and try to garner 5% of the vote. So he could be put on all the tickets for the next election. But they kept going after him, state after state after state. The Democratic Party blocked him, and this just pushed him too far.
And I think it was also easier for them to do so if it was Biden that he was running up against alongside with Trump. But now that it's Kamala, there's this seeming support behind her. Well, that is going to throw a wrench in how much both Trump and himself can garner in terms of voters, because most of the Democrat voters, or those that were not sure yet, were willing to still vote for Kennedy, but now they might be more willing to go for Kamala.
Well, we do have one more clip of Nicole Shanahan on a podcast, basically bringing up the same things, but it's a little bit better footage. So why don't we take a look at that?
We did not start this campaign. I did not put in tens of millions of dollars to be a spoiler candidate. I put in tens of millions of dollars to win, to fix this country, to do the right thing. I will say that Clear Choice, this PAC, this DNC aligned PAC that was created specifically to take us out, has spent millions of dollars to take us out. They have unfortunately turned us into a spoiler. And
it's a shame.
We don't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us.
They're doing
the
to him what
extent
they were
by
doing to
which
Trump.
the sabotage they've unleashed upon us, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're still learning new ways that they have sabotaged us. I really wanted a fair shot at this election, and I believed in the America that a little girl pledged an allegiance to. And
I mean, I think just for like one point here is that with RFK being who he is, having the name that he has, the Kennedy name, it's a political legacy. But not only that, he has done a lot throughout his career as a lawyer, as someone who is involved in politics, who was kicked out of politics as well. But we're also seeing, for example, with Kamala Harris, where they're planning to take the whole party, which is the way she came up is a little bit unusual. She doesn't come from any sort of political background. And then she essentially was kind of a lawyer, but got there also installed and with a bit of help from some certain men that she was helping out, let's say. And I think it's what the Democratic Party plans to do with everything else: destroy the legacy and destroy the whole rich history, the political history that the country has, and essentially just install people for their looks and for the nothingness that they can bring and what they can allow them to do.
I think what's happening here is RFK is not looking for just a spot in the Donald Trump administration, and I think Kamala Harris is going to try to offer him the highest spot she can. But the thing is, Donald Trump has begun to take over the Republican Party, and he doesn't have enough hands on deck. So if he can have people he trusts, even if they're a little bit ideological different, I think he's going to put a lot of RFK's people in strategic positions within the administration. A lot of people are saying he's going to give RFK a spot. He's going to give a lot of people a spot. He's going to give Nicole Shanahan a spot. He's going to give RFK a spot. And people that RFK is going to recommend for certain positions, I believe Trump is going to put him in those positions because he would rather put those people in positions than a bunch of rhinos.
And not only that, but he also has, for example, Vivek now behind him, and he has Tucker Carlson behind him. So he has amassed, thanks to this last presidential campaign that he's tried to pull off, he has gotten in with a lot more people, also Ron DeSantis. Like, all of these people that before maybe were on the sidelines and not as well known have now really come up into a spotlight. And if he does get the chance in the fair election to become the president, I do think there's a lot more better people behind him this time than what happened last time.
Well, we're about to see the populist left and the populist right come together if RFK joins the Trump administration and endorses them.
And the
So-
fact that the Democrats are letting that happen is not a good thing for them, but they just don't realize what they've done and what they've caused.
Yeah, this has to be the nail in the coffin. The only way to win this election if RFK endorses Trump is going to be for the Democrats to steal this election outright.
But to do funny things, let's say, for YouTube.
Okay, let's close it out here.
But for now, thank you for watching. We hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Please remember to like and subscribe. We are starting out. We are trying to give different perspectives than the ones that you hear out there, be it independent or in the mainstream.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Adios.